The first time you die, you are 28 years old. A battlefield. An ordinary sword. An entirely ordinary end. For an entirely ordinary soldier. Except you don't end. You wake up in the mud. With the wound already closing. You lie there for a long time. Watching your body betray everything you thought you understood about being alive. You look at the sky. The sky doesn't explain anything. It never will. You stand up. You walk away from the battlefield. You are the only one who does. You don't know yet what this means. You will spend the next several hundred years finding out. Her name is Eleanor. You find her the way you find everything. In those early centuries. By accident, while passing through. You had learned by then to keep moving. Stay too long in one place. And people begin to notice that you don't change the way they change. But Eleanor makes you forget the rule. She laughs at things nobody else laughs at. She asks questions that have no answer. And is comfortable with that. She treats the world like it is hers. And invites everyone in. You stay. You know, even then, what staying will cost. You stay anyway. This is the first lesson Immortality teaches you. Knowing the price of something does not make you stop wanting it. The decades pass the way decades do. When you are paying attention. Slowly. Then all at once. Eleanor ages the way people age. Gracefully and then suddenly. You don't age at all. She never asks you why. You think she always knew. You think she chose not to make it. The point of the thing. You hold her hand at the end. Yours looks the same as the day you met her. Hers looks like 50 years of living well. You think hers looks better. She says, don't be lonely. You say, I'll try. You both know which one of you is lying. You bury her on the hill she always loved. You walk away without looking back. Not because you don't care. Because you cannot afford to stand there. Because standing there will take something from you. That you will need for the next 500 years. The centuries teach you things that years cannot. You learn to leave before they notice. Before the questions start. Before someone's child grows up and says, you look just like the man in my grandfather's painting. You get good at goodbyes that look like ordinary departures. I'm moving on. Work calls me elsewhere. The usual reasons people leave. With nothing unusual behind them. You keep a journal. Not of events, history keeps those. Of names. Every person who mattered. Every person you loved and left. Or loved and watched leave. The journal gets very heavy. You keep it anyway. It is the only proof. That all of them were real. That they happened. That you were there. Thomas is the first person who asks you directly. 40 years of friendship. Long enough to earn the question. He says, you haven't changed. Not an accusation. Just an observation. The way someone might note. That you always order the same thing. You sit with it. Then you tell him. Not everything. But enough. He is quiet for a long time. Then he says, that sounds very lonely. Not impossible or absurd or prove it. Just, that sounds very lonely. That is why you loved him. He always found the real thing immediately. He says, I'm glad it was me you told. You say, so am I. He dies 7 years later. Peacefully. In his own bed. His daughter writes to tell you. You read the letter 4 times. In an empty room. And add his name to the journal. In your very best handwriting. He deserves that much. He deserved more. Most of them deserved more. Here is what they don't tell you about immortality. And they don't tell you because no one has ever survived long enough to report back. Grief doesn't accumulate the way you'd expect. It doesn't stack. It doesn't crush you under its combined weight, the way you think it will, after the first 100 years. Instead, it does something stranger. It deepens. Each loss makes the capacity larger. Each goodbye teaches you how to hold the next one without being destroyed by it. This is not the same as feeling less. You feel everything. You feel Thomas's death as completely as you felt Eleanor's. The 400 years between them did not insulate you at all. What changed is what you do with it. You have learned, slowly, expensively, to let grief be what it is, and then let it become what it becomes. The specific love that has no living person left to land on. So it lands on the world instead. On the rebuilt city. On the new street. On the strangers who don't know yet that they are temporary. Which is to say, precious. The modern world is the loudest one yet. Every era has had its noise. The clang of medieval forges. The roar of industrial engines. The percussion of wars you watched from a distance. Because you had learned, eventually, not to stand too close to things that end. But this one never stops. Everyone connected to everyone. At every hour of the day. Information moving at the speed of light. The world talking to itself constantly. And never quite listening. You find it beautiful. Not because it's new. Nothing is new to you exactly. But because people are the same. As they were in Eleanor's village. And Thomas's pub. And every century in between. Trying to connect. Trying to be seen. Trying to say, I was here. I mattered. You have watched them try for 1,000 years. It never gets less moving. Her name is Mara. She is 29 years old. And the most perceptive person you have met in for centuries. Most people look at you and see a young man. Mara looks at you and sees the eyes. She doesn't say anything about it. For 3 months. When she does, she says it simply. The way she says everything. Over coffee on an ordinary Tuesday. She says, "How old are you actually?" You look at her. She looks back. She is not afraid of the answer. That is how you know. You are in trouble again. You have been in this kind of trouble before. You know exactly how it ends. You order another coffee. You start to answer. You tell her on a park bench at midnight. The whole thing. Eleanor. Thomas. The battlefield and the closing wound. The journal with the names. All of it. She listens the way she does everything. Completely, without interrupting. When you finish, she is quiet for a long time. Then she asks the question no one has ever asked you before. What's the best thing you've seen? Not, prove it or that's impossible. Or how do you live with it? Just, what's the best thing? You think about it. Really think, for the first time in decades. Someone has asked you something. That requires you to survey the full length of it. And find the brightest point. You tell her about the first time you saw the Northern Lights. 1287, Northern Norway. You had never seen anything like it. You have never seen anything like it since. She smiles. She says, "That's a good answer." You think, yes. This is trouble. The good kind. The years with Mara are the best years. You have had 1,000 of them. And these are the best. She is the only person who has ever known the full weight of you. And stayed anyway. Not out of pity. Not out of fascination. Just because she wanted to. Because she decided, on a park bench at midnight, that 1,000-year-old man was the most interesting person she'd met. And she'd rather spend her years with interesting than safe. You love her for that. You love her for everything. And now the decades are showing on her. The way they showed on Eleanor. The way they showed on all of them. She wears it beautifully. She wears everything beautifully. You look at her across the table and feel the mathematics of it happening in your chest. The same old terrible arithmetic. More time behind her than ahead of her? You have done this before. Somehow that makes it harder, not easier. Because you know exactly what it costs. And you would pay it again. You would always pay it again. She goes the way she did everything. On her own terms, in the afternoon. With the window open because she always preferred the sound of outside to silence. She holds your hand and says, "You're going to be okay." She is comforting you. She has always been the braver one. You say, "I know." She says, "I know you know." She says, "Say my name after." You say, "Every day." She smiles. She says, "Good." The window is open. The afternoon continues outside. The way afternoons do. Birds, a car, the ordinary sound of the world. That does not stop for individual endings. You stay until the room cools. Then you open the journal. Older and thicker than it has ever been. And you write her name. In your very best handwriting. She deserves that much. She deserved everything. 1,000 years. This is what they teach you. Every person is temporary. You knew this before you were immortal. But knowing it and living inside it are not the same education. Eleanor was temporary. Thomas was temporary. Mara was temporary. Every name in the journal. Temporary, temporary, temporary. And yet, none of them were small. Not one. 50 years, 80 years, 93 years. Every single life the full size of a life. Complete. Irreplaceable. Not diminished by ending. This is what 1,000 years teaches you. That no single lifetime can. The ending is not the point. The ending is just the last sentence. You don't judge a book by whether it ends. You sit on the bench. People pass you the way they always have. Quickly, with somewhere to be. Beautiful in their urgency. Each one of them temporary. Each one of them whole. You open the journal to the next blank page. There is always a next blank page. You are waiting for the next name. You are always waiting for the next name. Because the next name is the whole point. It always was. The afternoon light is extraordinary today. Mara would have loved it. You see it for her. That is what you have learned to do. With all the light they never got to see. You see it for them. All of them. 1,000 years of borrowed light. And every single ray worth it.